Good evening and many thanks for watching KT, and my name is Dennis Aseto, and this is Health and Wellness. We keep on saying on this show that your health is your wealth. Today we're having an interesting conversation, and it is a conversation surrounding nutrition, especially when it comes to breastfeeding. What do you need to eat? What must you do as well to ensure that you get the perfect nutrition for you to be able to breastfeed well? And the importance of these to babies, not babes. No, we're not talking about babes. We're talking about babies, watoto, you know. And to have this conversation with us is Felix Ntongai, who is a nutritionist. Karibu sana.
Thank you.
And this also happens to be that week where the world celebrates the breastfeeding week within this month, right? But even while at that, one asks the question, for a parent, for a new mother to be able to breastfeed well, they must eat right. What must they eat?
Yeah, so it's very important conversation we're having, and actually we're having it at the backdrop of where we've just concluded culmination of celebrating the World Breastfeeding Week that begins from 1st to 8th of August every single year. And we get to honor and celebrate women because we know it's not easy to be able to breastfeed. In fact, one of the discussions we were having this week is that policies and guidelines do not actually breastfeed. It's women who breastfeed these children because we tend to create so many guidelines and policies, and we forget that it's actually the woman and the baby that is involved in this process, and us, we should be able to provide the support. So if I take you back, Aseto, to breastfeed right, actually that journey does not begin when the lady starts or the mother starts breastfeeding. It's a journey that starts from the time you conceive. Because if you've observed ladies during the duration of pregnancy, you will notice that you see their body size increasing. You see even their mammary glands increasing. All these initiatives, the body, the hormones, are actually doing all that in preparations for the breastfeeding. So they actually start putting up stocks that will be used at the process of making milk once they start breastfeeding during the duration of pregnancy.
So in short, the body becomes a warehouse.
Yes. Exactly. So it starts stocking some fats, starts stocking some nutrients in there, some vitamins and minerals. So that at the moment you start breastfeeding, because you need a lot of materials, then some of those materials will already be in-house, means housed within a lady. And that's why most of them, they gain weight, and even their body shape and size sometimes change to sometimes even the level they don't feel very comfortable about. All this is to make way and preparations for actually breastfeeding. And so if I was to talk about what a woman then must eat, the journey or that conversation cannot start at when she's breastfeeding. We have to take it back, because if this lady doesn't gain weight, meaning she's not having the right meals and the right nutrients in her body during pregnancy, I will be able to ascertain and confirm to you that when she starts breastfeeding, these are the kind of lady you'll find that 1 month, 2 months down the line, she starts saying, my breast milk is drying up. I can't get adequate milk. Why? Because the stocks that were there in terms of, they're actually getting depleted. And this is the conversation that we really need to be able to know. I know in most countries, especially Africa involved, people do not take time to plan for pregnancy, including eating right. Some of them recognize this when even the journey is deeper into that. But if I was to lay out the key nutrients I can be able to say, if a woman, a lady who is expecting to breastfeed or carrying a pregnancy should be able to focus on, of course, we'll start with energy-giving foods. And when you talk of energy-giving foods, these are the common types of food you might find in every table in our households. Or if you go to a shere, the main types of food you'll see people cooking in the many sufurias you'll see actually will be containing these foods. And these are foods that many people like calling them starch or carbohydrates. Or those, the two are just they mean sugar as far as I'm concerned as a nutritionist. But if we come now to narrow down to the types of food, this is where you'll find your typical ugali is there. Your rice is there. Let's say your chapatis are there. Your matokes are there. Your ndomas are there. So that all those foods make up that group of energy provision, basically. And which means then, as a lady who is pregnant or breastfeeding, then you must tap in from that food during the day as you're planning your meal throughout the day. You cannot decide to be able to abscond that. I'm saying that because there are also others who are worried about their weight gain. And so they end up actually skipping some of these particular foods.
So, Doc, basically, during pregnancy,
Yes.
right? Like you've said, the body pretty much responds to the changes that, because now there's a baby that is being developed, and through that then the body, the neurons, the brain responds to that. So that's why we see appetite as well goes up. Weight has to be there because, like you've said, we are stocking the warehouse in readiness for the baby that is to come.
Correct.
So in terms of whether you're gonna gain weight or not, that is gonna happen because that's the body responding. Where then we are seeing an expectant mother, an expectant lady is not gaining weight. Is that a clear indicator that perhaps one of the issues would be their diet?
That is a very important point you've raised, Aseto, and I actually want to confirm, if you look at the guidelines from Ministry of Health, from World Health Organization, actually not gaining a certain amount of weight during pregnancy is a risk, is a red flag by itself. We start anticipating probably this mother, when they deliver, they might even deliver a baby who is of low weight, the ones that they call preterm. Because actually gaining a weight is a very important milestone during the duration of pregnancy. And it is true, it is an indication of what the mother is actually consuming. Because if she's not putting the energy foods that we've talked about, secondly, in terms of proteins, because her body needs to be built, the baby also needs to be built. This doesn't happen miraculously. She must embed and provide some proteins in the body to ensure that that tissue, that muscle that is growing for the child gets nourishment from the proteins. So we are talking of fish, we are talking of some chicken here, we are talking of the plant proteins, things like lentils, the beans and such. Also in terms of the bone, remember all of us as human beings, we have a skeleton inside us, which is actually made up of bones. And if you look at bones, close to 97% of their composition is calcium. Then we must also have a dairy product as part of that to ensure that as this baby is growing, the bone structure of that baby are actually getting nourishment, and calcium comes in important. And if you look at most of our daily product, like milk, is actually a very, very key food in terms of providing that. You've talked of very important things like neurons and brain development. These require very healthy fats, the omega-3, the omega-6. And you'll find most of these, you'll actually get them either from fish and some of the nuts and seeds that surrounds us, and even some fruits, like an avocado, for example. And so, again, if we want to be able to have those neurons and the brain developing a good architecture, that even at the level of academics, once this baby comes to this planet, we'll be able to excel well, we actually need to be able to start doing that there. When I talk to most of these women, I actually tell them, look at it like a building. For you to construct a very good building, you gotta put some work and materials. You gotta bring some stones, you gotta bring some paint, you gotta bring an architecture, an interior designer. So body requires a lot of all these nutrients for you to be able to actually use them in the right manner and be able to present to you a very healthy baby.
Doc, you've said something that is, I think, very critical, that if a mother does not gain weight, then that will automatically as well translate to the baby being born, because we hear of preterm,
yes,
we hear of baby has not gotten to the weight, the regular weight that ought to be there, and that the converse as well is a fact, that when you see a mother gained weight, there's a high possibility that baby would get to term, that the baby perhaps would be born heavier. You know, they say mtoto ametoka mkubwa sana, mzito sana. So that as well directly correlates with the nutrition that a woman has. So then this then brings the conversation. Let's take it even further, because whenever we have pregnancy, many just think of, I will have a gynecologist, you know, who will take you through all this. But there's rarely conversations around having a nutritionist as well next to these gynecologists to work hand in hand to ensure that the mother gets all the nutrients they want, because that will translate to the baby. That even as we're thinking about the safety of the child, safety of the mother, how they were going to be born and everything else, nutrition is equally a conversation that we can't avoid. But why is it that the nutrition part has always been missing?
That's a very complex question, because nutrition has been sidelined for quite some time. And I want to put a quote by one of guys that most of the people who are from the medical field actually recognize. He lived quite a number of years, some AD back then, used to be called Hippocrates. And actually, if you have friends or even brothers or family or such, or even cousins who are doctors, they will tell you actually they took a oath of Hippocrates before they could be allowed to practice medicine in any country, basically, not only in Kenya. And he used to say this, let food be the medicine or the medicine will be the food. And this also translated to another quote that came later, that you become what you eat.
Yeah.
So if you see yourself growing or adding weight, it's not miraculous. It's what actually you're consuming. And I know, yes, nutrition has been put at the backside, but right now we are seeing a lot of initiative because people have actually recognized the doctors more interact with the curative element, meaning treating a problem that has already occurred. But a nutritionist...
Pretty much firefighting.
Exactly. And it is actually very expensive and very, it's not cost efficient because you're already dealing with a problem that has occurred. And if you look at the conference that happened this year in terms of postpartum hemorrhage, the conversation were about many mothers who will lose because of postpartum hemorrhage. Even if you have a very competent gynecologist, we will still lose some of them. Why? Because of an underlying cause which we call anemia. Because if the mother's blood is at 8, and she has come to deliver and we didn't correct that, bleeding a little bit pushes her blood very low to support life. And before you rush to transfuse and all that initiatives, because now we are saying firefighting, you might end up losing that mother.
So postpartum hemorrhage,
yes.
That is technical. Just break it down.
That is good. So this is actually where you have, after the mother delivers, she ends up bleeding more than usual. And because of that, too much blood loss, then this actually translates to her having very low blood volume that makes us to lose them. And we lose quite a number of them, especially in our country, Kenya here. So we're saying that anemia, or which is simply in simple terms saying low blood volume in human body, if you look at the best strategies of collecting it, is actually nutrition. Because what makes up a human blood is, the first one is called an iron, a mineral that is we call iron. Iron, you'll get it mostly from animal-based products. So if you take some liver, especially organ meats, if you take some liver, if you take some, let's say heart or kidneys or some of those organs that animals that we eat or we rear in a house, it's able to give your body a lot of that iron. Secondly, iron is not enough. You need folic acid. And folic acid now comes from mostly dark green vegetables. Talk of some spinach here, some skuma there. It is very rich in terms of that folic acid. So that is the other ingredient that you need. Thirdly, you need vitamin C. Again, that is food. I would want to guarantee you, without fear or favor from any science contexts, whether locally or internationally, without those three elements, you cannot make a human blood.
Yeah. But there is this aspect of when pregnancy comes, it comes with its own complications, where this baby does not want sukuma wiki, does not want greens. This baby just wants, you know, fatty stuff. I want a burger here, I want a sandwich here, you know, I want takeout and everything else. So at that point, because you also can't control it, but it happens, so we have to talk about it. So at that point then as much as that is what the baby says, that is what apparently the baby says, there is, if this conversation was being held together with a nutritionist, where this pregnancy has a nutritionist and has a gynecologist, perhaps then they would be advised as to why, as much as the baby wants what they want, that you as an adult in the room should change that and give the baby what they need.
So that's Aseto, that is a very interesting conversation. And the quote unquote the baby needs,
yes,
for us in our world, we call them cravings mostly. And if you look at most of the cravings, actually there is a possibility of underlying deficiency in terms of a nutrient. You might find that your body probably doesn't have enough calcium. So apart from you having tooth sensitivities and some back pain, all that, it is also, the body is packaging it in form of craving. And you'll find now, I only want some cold, chilled yogurts. Every day I want you to bring me 3 liters of that. Probably the body is trying actually to communicate that it needs calcium. But sometimes when it is packaging this communication, it might not get it to the right food. And that's why sometimes we call them pickers, whereby you might even someone, apart now from the KFCs and pizza and all those, you might even find it pushing the cravings towards even eating non-food items like stones. You hear telling, no, I need mchanga. It is actually the body that is trying to be able to communicate that the need of the mother and the developing child and what the mother is supplying are not, the supply and demand is actually not in good balance. And so it's the body trying to be able to push, we need more, please provide. But unfortunately, it is not able to package that in a right manner. And so what we have those conversations, because it's actually very true, we have those conversations with mother. Then I tell to be able to challenge her, look at calcium. Do you actually consume any dairy products in your dairy diet? If the answer is no, then I start picking. Probably the body is asking these other things because of this. And so I won't push her away from that, but I'll try to tell her, can you give a chance to a glass of maybe some probiotic yogurt every single day in your dairy meals? Because also we need to be as practical as possible, because remember, there are a lot of hormonal dynamics for these women, and we need to be able to provide them the support that they actually require. Probably it could be about iron. Yeah. So ask her, when was the last time in terms of your week, from Monday to Sunday, from breakfast to dinner, do you get some liver, or maybe some meat, or maybe some chicken? And then based on our response, I can be able to actually know probably the body is asking about iron. It's just that it's not able to communicate rightly what thing it actually needs. And so we start now also introducing that in the mother's meal, basically. And so the conversation is about trying to be able to look at the needs in terms of what the mother needs, and what the body is confusing and asking all these things she's saying. And the last element is trying to be able to demonstrate to her. She consumes some of those things, that is soda, because the baby is craving a cold soda. Soda only contains sugar and water and some chemicals. And to make up a baby who is healthy, soda, which means now you're giving all those sugar and those other chemicals and additives, is not going to guarantee you a healthy baby. And the moment you press that button, I'll guarantee you, every mother wants to have a very healthy baby. And that gives us an opportunity to be able to discuss about it. You can have a glass of this thing that you want, but probably actually the reason the baby wants, it's not the soda the baby wants. The baby wants you to give them some green vegetables.
I want to talk about something that is usually, you see, pregnancy usually is looked at rather in our communities and societies. It's a woman's problem. Wababa, say Wababa, I wanted to talk about Wababa in this relationship, because for that baby to be there, Wababa have to be there. There has to be a partner, right? And as we talk about the presence of men in this conversation, in this journey, how critical is it in ensuring that it is not only a headache for the mother, that as much as the headache is there, it is shared, and by sharing it, the weight is easily carried by both. So how critical is a man's presence in this conversation, especially around nutrition?
That's a very also key question and conversation that we can't run away from, actually, all the way even when you start bringing up that child once the baby comes. If you look at the Kenya Health Demographic Survey that they did in 2022, it actually confirms that most of our Kenyan households, the head of the household is actually a father, not a mother. Of course, there is almost close to a 30% that they say that those houses are headed by ladies or women, basically, which means there is no man in that house, basically. So that means close to almost 70% of this household is a man, which means if it is the hand of the house, there is high chances is the provider in terms of the wallet or shareholding in terms of buying things. And so, which means then it is very hard to have conversation of eating healthy, providing that liver that we've talked, provided a glass of yogurt that we talked. The vitamin C comes from fruits, giving that fruit. All this conversation, if it comes from the mother, then from my experience over 12 years, mothers tell me, the father will think that I'm the one who is requesting this thing. And so when we bring the father on board as we're having that conversation, then the father understands the fruit is going to provide key vitamins that will support your lady immunity and even the baby that is inside their immunity. And so it's good for her to have a fruit a day. Then he says, okay, that is very important. Then they say, you need some omega-3 and 6 for the brain development of your child. So that the product that comes here can be a product. You don't start creating a doctor by paying a school fees. You start in the womb when they're actually developing, to ensure the brain can actually conceptualize most of the key complex things that the baby will be taught after the baby comes to this planet. So when I tell them about fish, about some avocado because of omega-3, some nuts like cashew nuts, almonds, then the father said, okay. Now take this conversation, if it is the lady that I taught, and now she went home and told her Seto, I want to have nuts every day, at least a small amount of it. I want you to give me a fruit every day, at least some fish, even if it's 2 times in a week. Then Aseto might start thinking, now this one, because of pregnancy, now has decided to finish me. And so now that's why it becomes critical to have man in this discussion, so that he can understand, actually, if I want my mother to have to carry pregnancy to term, she needs to have a normal blood volume.
Yeah.
A normal blood volume, these grain vegetables will provide her with folic acid. This meat or organ meats like liver will provide her with iron. The fruit in terms of immunity, so that I don't end taking her to hospital so many times because she's sick. Because when they are pregnant also the immunity comes down, basically. Now, once Aceto now understand that context, now he's actually the one who even will create a shopping list to actually be able to support the lady. And these are conversations that we want to take all through even to breastfeeding. Because you notice it's a very key thing also.
Doc, you know, when we just got in here, there's a question that was asked. Bagnia, no, in this case, Bagnia Aceto to make sure that mtoto is raised well. We'll take a short commercial break. We will be back with much more on this conversation. Thank you for watching Health and Wellness. Welcome back, Dennis Aceto, together with nutritionist Felix Ntogai. Now, guys, we've been talking about breastfeeding, how it's important, but the other aspect of it, they usually say at the background, is where everything happens, nutrition for that matter. Doc, as we're going to the break now, we talked about the presence of a man in all that conversation, right? But that notwithstanding, then there are women who say, mimi folic acid ilinikata. I know one of us alisema ilimkata, akasema mimi hiyo nimeachilia. So what would be the reasons as to why you find the body is saying no to some aspect of nutrition that is equally very important?
Actually, that is a very important question, Aceto. And I remember this week I was at Health Africa, where I'm the clinical nutritionist. We were having a conversation with one of the lady, and she was actually saying the same thing. Like for me, I took only 3 days, and the way I was feeling like I want to vomit and all that, I just stopped taking those iron and folic supplements. So what that means is that, and how I'm able to handle that in terms of the context of discussion, I was able to advise her that, you know, one thing is the timings that you take them. And this is something that many people don't focus on, basically. You need to be able to take it as close as possible to when you are going to sleep.
Okay.
So that some of those effects that comes up, you might not actually be able to experience them. But you find someone has dispensed to you iron and folic acid supplementation, and so they do not say the timing. So you start taking breakfast, and then because it has some metallic tastes, that taste tends to be able to make you now to be able to feel the nausea, and that makes many ladies actually to not take that. Yet, if you look at the importance of it, folic acid, actually, if you look at the first, at least 20 days to the first trimester of pregnancy, if a mother doesn't get adequate supply of folic acid in her body, can actually lead to you developing or delivering a baby who has a congenital problem, which we call spina bifida. It simply means you deliver a baby whose spinal cord is actually open, has not crossed well. Okay. There are some even studies that have shown us cleft and lip palate, where you have a baby has an opening in the upper lip or lower lip, or even inside. There are some studies that are actually also saying having inadequate supply of that folic acid can actually be able to cause such. Then if you look at the iron on the other side, I've already explained to you how important it is, even carrying this pregnancy to term. So it's very important thing that we cannot be able to say we drop. We just need to be able to say, to advise mothers when is the right time to be able to take. And the way I handle it, even if, from that conversation I was telling you, is that you are now ready to sleep, you finished all other activities, you take it, and then you go to your bed and sleep. For most of the clients I've handled for a number of years, they tend to have full compliance of that. For those who have very difficult even trying that strategy, then now also we tend now to focus on nutrition to make sure that since folic acid and iron is very present in many foods, then we are able to look at that. The third solution is that there are types that are in the market that they are a bit easy and flexible to be able to take, as long as I'm able to make sure that you achieve those quantities of folic acid and iron. So in the event that the usual tablets are very difficult, we can also look for an equivalent of supplement that will make sure you get the same amount of folic acid, you get the same amount of iron, but it is a bit test-friendly, basically.
Doc, now you see, today being a Sunday, many would say tunenda kwenye meza ya Bwana. Here, one would say this is the meza that you're talking about now when it comes to ensuring that we have a proper meal that is good for the mother, you know? So one asks the question, then say it's early in the morning, I need to prepare something that will I can be taking every day. It is good for my tongue and good for the baby as well. So I'm seeing we have different paraphernalia here. So we have bananas, we have apples, we have oranges. These are chia seeds.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, we have chia seeds and some groundnuts and some yogurt, right? So with that then, prepare for us a proper, is this a smoothie? A proper nutrition drink that will be able to take the mother through the day and also take care of the baby, because these are things that are readily available at home, or these are things that then icho mfuko bag ya aseto is able to buy these, right?
Yeah, so that's a very important question. And so one of the main thing pregnant women experience is that as the baby is growing, the baby is pushing out the stomach that should be able to carry your food, basically. So which means the stomach size tends also to be able to reduce. Where now your food goes when you consume, as I said.
Doc,
yes, yes, yes.
When the baby is developing, the size of the stomach reduces because then the stomach is pushed out. So that also speaks to the amount of food that a woman is able to consume.
Correct, correct, very correct. And even that's why they experience the heartburn and all those feelings, because also there is some acid in the stomach, and when it's being pushed up, they get those refluxes also because of the same. So because of that, I get ladies who tell me, now I'm eating, my stomach can only accommodate a very small amount of food. So now all these nutrients you've talked about, they are many. So which means if I need to eat all those foods, clearly I need to have a lot of space to put them. And so that's actually what we want to be able to solve here. So we want to make sure that a mother can have a drink, like a smoothie or even a blended fruit. And that fruit, you can make sure that you put some power. Tunataka power. You can put some power of nutrients inside there to ensure that as she drinks that, she's able to get the vitamins I mentioned about. She's able to get some protein from there. And yet it's just a small drink. And that saves her also to be able to ensure that if she's having a lot of challenges of having even those small amount of food, she can actually be able to combine that.
Tengeneza power.
So we will do some hygiene is always very important. So because without hygiene, then we tend to put a lot.
I don't have mine though.
Okay.
Anyway, I'll let you do everything.
I'll do everything for you, basically. So this is actually some dairy product, which means some milk. And in here, I've talked of calcium. In here, there's some protein for the muscles and tissue and the baby growth and development, including the increasing in body size. So at least a glass of that, which is like 250 mils, should be able to do our job.
So this is just plain yogurt?
Yes, this is plain yogurt. But also remember, as we said, like you said, pregnancy can come. So you might find that, no, me, I'm able to take some probiotic yogurts. So what I've put here is something that has some probiotics also in it for the gut health, because also she is going through some challenges in her gut. And so, once you have that, then you just put it in. So once you have that, at least you are able to know that already there's some element of calcium and some protein inside there, and some other vitamins and minerals, basically. And then once we've done that, then the other thing that we need, chia seeds also contains a lot of vitamins and minerals. Talk of zinc, talk of even the vitamins that I've talked about, even iron. So what you need to be able to do, you just put just a handful. So we do not want to take all of it. So just a handful is something that will just fit to your palm when it's folded like that, and you pull it in there. Then you also need some, we've talked of omega-3, we've talked of omega-6, we've talked also proteins again and other nutrients which are important. Nuts also tend to be able to contain some of that, basically. And so you just need to put a little bit, again, a handful of them in there. So at least you know now there is some omega-3, there is some omega-6 in the drink that I'm about to make. Then, of course, we need to make it put also other vitamins and minerals, and so the mother can actually be able to put even just one banana inside there, even of the sugar. It's going to be able to help us in terms of the sugar. And so basically that's another element that is important. And so we put in some banana in there, or even a favorite fruit, you know. Probably she likes an orange or maybe an apple. Still that can be done. And then once we've done that, we just put some water. So remember to put some water in there. All right. And then once we've done that, then we just close it up, and we just make sure we mix it now so that we can have our drink. Just a 30 seconds.
Okay.
And we're good to go.
That's now the power.
Yes, this is a power drink for a mother who is saying that, you know, all that food you've talked about, there are a lot. And need to eat very small. Okay, eat that small, but when you feel like not eating, make something like this, a drink like this, yes. And so then from there, she can just serve herself, basically. So probably I'll give you just to tell me if
how it tastes.
How it tastes. And remember, this is a very rich drink. Here you have, so here you have some omega-3. Here you have some protein inside there. You have also the iron inside there, right? Okay, you can just put it there. So you can tell me, let me just sort this out, basically.
So this is called a power drink, eh?
Yes.
So here we have probiotic yogurt, we have chia seeds, we have the nuts, omega-3, and we equally have the bananas, you know, so that's the favorite fruit there is. So if you look at the texture, actually it has a lot of, it's a bit lumpy inside, but that would be understandable because it's through blending of everything that is in there. So let me take a sip of the same. So this is what our mothers would be taking in this case. It is me and the mother trying, you know, now here is where
giving us support.
I am the support machine, you know. Hii power lazima tupate.
Yes.
Mtoto lazima grow vizuri, right?
Yes.
So on behalf of my baby, I could actually get used to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You see, now when you talk about omega-3, that child has to be smart in school.
Sure.
When you talk about, so bananas usually has...
There's some potassium there,
potassium,
some sugar. That's actually one of the reasons, because, you know, she's going for sweet things and cravings. So that's also another thing, to be able to bring something sweet, but very natural and healthy at the same time. So that's the approach, actually, to be able to do. And also there are plenty of a lot of other vitamins and minerals, but if you look at potassium, is one of the key nutrients we can be able, and it's very good actually in terms of controlling blood pressure. And you find many ladies also have increase in terms of blood pressure during the duration they are pregnant. So it's good to pamper with some potassium. Very
in short, Doc, what I'm hearing you say is, when it comes to nutrition, because there is the other aspect of where nutrition has been thought to be this very expensive affair because of you need fish, you need what. But if you speak to a nutritionist, then they're able to guide you to alternatives that are there in the market. Because then, if you're talking about fish, if someone says it's a little bit costly, I cannot be able to have that on a daily basis, then the nuts come in to replace that.
Yes, that's one of the way. Also remember, fishes, we have quite a number of fish. Like the sardines or the omena, they will cost a little bit less than having a buta fish with you, basically, or any other type of tilapia or such. So of course, such a mother, if she can be able to afford omena, and then we can train her on how to be able to prepare it nicely, then that's also another source. And then the nuts, like you actually say, because with 20 shillings or 10 shillings, you saw how much I used. It's like literally like 10 shillings nuts. And so there is always good to be able to understand what you say, that there are always alternatives whereby something is perceived to be very costly. But also remember, cost of having a mother stay in 3 months because she has delivered a preterm baby because of poor nourishment, if you do those maths in terms of the financial implication, is a lot. And that's something that even our Ministry of Health and every other stakeholders, and including us as LDEX, these are the things we are trying to explore to ensure that let's be able to prevent rather than to fight, like we said when we are beginning, whereby the mother has already had low blood volume, the baby has already come in preterm, the baby has already a congenital problem like open spine. Let's try to be able to prevent, and we are able to do that through provision of endocrine.
There is the chia seeds as well, and with chia seeds, then you see, I've seen many consume these, just put it in water. They say the more it grows in size and all those, it makes you not eat much and all that. Take us through that, if as well as a mother who as well needs lots of water, would these be things as well that they drop inside their water for them to just drink during the day? And would they get the same value as when you have it in your smoothie?
Yeah, so that's important. So first thing is, and you'll be able to see that documented in many literatures. And even if you do your Google, you'll see something that is indicated whole seeds or whole foods.
Okay.
Whole food, it means something that has not been taken to a factory and processed.
Okay.
So if you look at these seeds, they are straight the way they come from the farm, so they are complete. What does that give you? That gives you something that is called high fiber. And that's why if she puts it in the seeds, it's also, and some of the people that you mentioned do this, it actually makes them to be able to feel a bit full in terms of the tummy, and also is able to regulate the appetite and hunger pangs, whereby you have those fluctuations. Number two, if you look at it as again being whole, it contains all the types of vitamins that I'll be able to highlight. Number one, it contains what we call B complex vitamins. This is B1, B2, all the way to B12. They are very important vitamins. If probably people need a discussion on that, that's something we can be able to talk about.
You say they start from B1 to B12.
12. So each of them has crucial role in terms of our health, basically. Then the second thing that we'll be able to get there is minerals. So you'll have some magnesium here, you'll have some zinc here, you'll have some potassium here. So as long as food is whole, one thing I can be able to say, when we talk of power, like we said, whole food is a powerhouse of vitamins and minerals. And of course, putting it in water does not mean you take away those, because minerals will just dissolve in that water. So as you consume that, you're also benefiting. So either way, whether it's putting it in a drink like this or putting in water, I'll be able to say that lady is going to be able to benefit when she's pregnant.
Doc, when we start with this conversation, then there is the other aspect of maternal mortality that we've just discussed because of postpartum hemorrhage, right? And this is squarely as well lies on the kind of foods that we eat. And as we look at the numbers that we're doing in Kenya, okay, fine, the numbers have gone down, but still is a concern, right? Now, let's talk about reproduction health in the country, where then perhaps there is policy, but there is mother and child who are involved, that we marry these things together for them to make sense. How would you reckon we are doing, especially when it comes to nutrition of expectant mothers?
So that is a very emotive question when it comes to me as Felix, because I'm very key and very big in terms of maternal health and child health, because I've also had a baby who was preterm, and I know the pain that comes with that. And what I will be able to say is that if you look at Kenya as a country, we have so many policies. We have exclusive breastfeeding as a policy. We have complementary feeding as a policy that we support. We have maternal, infant, and young child policy. We have the constitution also. There is an enactment in terms of how to be able to support breastfeeding that comes with issues of paternal leave and maternal leave. So we created so many policies. That's what I'm trying to be able to say. But there's no one who is keen on implementing those policies. And so they end up increasing in the shelf, yet we are not implementing. So what I'll be able to say, if you look at a nutritionist and the mother, these are the key stakeholders in that discussion. Because when you bring a doctor, they are dealing with an outcome that is already there. Because now if we talked about postpartum hemorrhage, that I've explained, it's just excess bleeding after mother delivers, you'll find that when the mother has low blood volume, that is one of that will be found as you're auditing why we've lost that mother. That will be one of the main reasons. But we are saying nutrition is very important in that. But remember, we can't feed her today and then our blood jumps up to normal. So we need to have nutritionists on board from this particular journey all through. And then number two, we also need to have this mother, like you said, let her tell her those challenges so that we can be able to tailor-make solutions that are specific to those particular queries, rather than men. Because if you find most of these discussions and policies, you'll find it's men sitting in a boardroom somewhere in Nairobi and curating some of those particular policies. Yet a nutritionist and the mother who is going through that journey, they are not part and parcel of that particular conversation. And that is the main hindrance. Like you said, nutrition is left sidelined, and yet is where it's the key in terms of prevention. The other faculties, if you talk about a nursing, or when you talk about a doctor, all these people come after to deal with the consequences of what already has occurred. And so I think this is where we need to be able to deal with it mostly.
So even as we come now to the top of the hour, and then Daktari, allow me to call you Daktari, because in my eye, it is not about that accolade, Daktari. These are all things that perhaps even as we talk about implementation of the policy and these conversations taking center stage, we need to see then intentional investment into these areas, because you are as good as how you take care of the most vulnerable in the society, right?
Yeah.
Are we seeing perhaps the government investing more into nutrition, especially for expectant mothers?
So, so this is something that is a bit painful in our society because if you look at our government, yes, there are those policies. And all those policies, to speak life to those policies, you need a nutrition, which means we need to empower and employ more of those workforce. But if you look at every single advert that is out there, you'll see probably one nutrition against 50 doctors or 300 nurses. And so it means it's very hard for this one person to be able to actually deliver the results that you expected, because if then 300 voice or 350 voice in that room will be speaking about curative, only one voice is speaking about preventive medicine, it will be overshadowed basically. And so it is not happening. But I would challenge the government and all the stakeholders to ensure they have more nutrition in terms of employ them, in terms of putting them in the primary health care, in terms of service provision, and also giving them the voice to be able to actually address and speak these matters, like the way you've done, which is, I really appreciate KTN for giving this opportunity, because every mother who is listening then is able to actually see that actually what I eat is actually informs this baby that I'm actually carrying.
So, Doc, I want to get you, I want you to be part of my journey. Where do I get you?
So, I'm a clinical nutritionist at HealthX Africa. And HealthX Africa, you can actually be able to call a toll-free line that I'll be able to provide, that you can share with our viewers.
Provided.
Yes, so that at least they can be able to contact. The beauty of it is that for us, we are able to do telemedicine, which means I can talk to them at the comfort of their home, basically to be able to give advice, because also I'm a pediatric nutritionist and I'm very passionate when it comes to maternal and child health. And so I'm able to make sure that I'm able to support.
On the socials?
Of course, at HealthX Africa, you can actually be able to find us, whether it is the TikTok, whether it is the LinkedIn, whether it is any platform, you'll find us at HealthX Africa. Yes.
You see, when you look at bigger economies that we have in this world today, it is because of the population that they do have, and not just population, how healthy that population is. And this is where then nutrition is part and parcel of that conversation, because better nutrition is as a result of mothers who are surviving and babies as well who will grow up to be able to carry these economies forward. We talk about breastfeeding. Nutrition is key and parcel to that. I want to say asante sana to Dr. Felix and to Guy, who is a nutritionist, on taking us through what it is we can do in our own spaces to make sure that mother survives and our babies get to grow. And as we close this show, your health is your wealth. And as we keep on saying, bag ni aseto, mtoto will be taken care of. Bye-bye for now.